J.D. Vance is now going to be running for that open Senate seat against Tim Ryan in Ohio. And yesterday, Tim Ryan is on, I believe, CNN, and the anchor asks him if he's going to have Joe Biden to Ohio to campaign on his behalf. And I just pay attention to the beginning, because Tim Ryan, who's the Democratic nominee for the Senate there in Ohio, didn't know how to answer at first. And then, like politicians do, he sort of composed himself and came up with an answer. Take a look.
But President Biden, will you invite President Biden to come campaign for you?
Look, we welcome everybody's support, but I will be the face of this campaign. I don't think, surrogates are going to play a huge role here.
Amy, what do you think about that? Do you think we see a lot of Joe Biden across the 50 beautiful American states as we get into the midterm season?
No. And in fact, his first initial reaction was priceless. He looked like a deer caught in headlights.
Like he just wanted to be like, no, 33% approval rating, no way.
He's like, no, please. Oh, my gosh, why did you even go there? I do not anticipate seeing much of President Joe Biden along anyone's side as they campaign in any state, to be quite honest.
Benjamin, can you look at the other side of that? So we look at J.D. Vance, who you could make the argument, and I think you could do it easily, that because of the 45th president's endorsement of J.D. Vance, in a race that was really close. Let's be honest, 2 months ago, this was a really tight race. By no means was J.D. Vance, a sure thing. He gets endorsed by Donald Trump, and he wins really without any issues, 32% of the vote on Tuesday in Ohio. And look at how Democrats that are running across the country, especially in purple districts, in purple states, they don't want Joe Biden or Kamala Harris anywhere near their districts or their states.
Yeah, it's clear that the president is toxic. I mean, you couldn't get a more ringing endorsement from Tim Ryan than that. It's really remarkable to see that in real time, not even 2 years into this presidency. The Trump effect was absolutely real in Ohio. And let's not forget that Ohio really almost isn't a swing state anymore after what Trump did to that state. If you look at the performance between 2016 and then 2020 as well, I think this is a big red flag for the left trying to cast ultra MAGA extremists as half the country. Well, it may be more than half the country, and clearly in states like that, which are really much more representative of the country than a New York or a California, which it increasingly seems like are the only places that the party and its leadership are speaking to, there really is there's a desire for an agenda which is about a normal country in a normal time that you want to raise your family in, that is patriotic, that cares about our neighbors, community-oriented. These are very basic dinner table types of items that the MAGA agenda represents, and the Democrats are completely on the side of it because that's not who their elite base is.
Yeah, and what does that say, Rob, about the Biden administration? The fact that most of these candidates probably will not have Joe Biden with them on the campaign trail or Kamala Harris, and yet former President Trump endorsed 22 of those candidates in Ohio and Indiana. They all won. So my thought is, as we get into the midterms, is former President Barack Obama going to then start kind of going on the campaign trail because he was so popular, and maybe because they need somebody from the Democratic Party to back them, to get people out?
I think you could see Hillary Clinton out there as well. I think the surrogates for the Democrats will not be Joe Biden, maybe Kamala Harris, although she's got a lower approval rating than Joe Biden.
Please bring Hillary Clinton out.
I think,
bring her out there.
I say you'll see Hillary Clinton. I also think you're going to see other Democrats that are planning to run for president, not in 2028. In 2024, because I think that 7 months from now, once the midterms are in the rearview mirror, we start to hear more about Joe Biden maybe not running again in 2024, meaning that we're going to need a Democratic nominee, and I don't think that person will be Kamala Harris. Don't forget what happened with Stacey Abrams in Georgia.
Yeah.
All right, Joe Biden, there was a scheduling conflict. This is not like, your boss or somebody, trying to get together with you over the weekend. The president of the United States, you think you might make time. And Stacey Abrams, who still hasn't conceded the Georgia governor's race from 2018, couldn't make time for Joe Biden.